Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vital MX. I'm out here at Paula Raceway today. I'm getting to check off something on my bucket list. I'm riding a factory HRC Honda CRF450R. Earlier this season, I had a lot of interest and really always wanted to try one of these bikes, so I hit up one of our contacts at Honda and asked them if there was any chance we could try out one of their bikes later in the year. And due to Cole Seeley having a little bit of time off, it kind of put us in a good position where we were able to get our hands on his full factory race bike and get to try it out here for the day. The obvious interest in the HRC Honda is how much difference is it than the production bike? That's I think about anybody wonders, with all of Honda's resources, what can they do to this bike? The main thing you always hear is that they can really tailor it to what the rider wants. And in this case, this bike, it's very normal. Cole's setup isn't too out there on control setup, bike balance, everything. Be able to sit on it feels very average, but at the same time, it's definitely geared for him. The most surprising thing for me is you see Cole is a very precise rider, able to put the bike wherever he wants. I expected it to have a lot more explosive power, maybe a little more of a instantaneous hit, but Cole rides his outdoor bike with just a very broad and smooth power band. It's very deceiving how quick his bike really is. It doesn't have any real point in the power band where it spikes on. It runs very clean, it always has pickup, but it doesn't spike anywhere. It's just real mellow, easy to ride, and you can carry anywhere from first, second, third gear. There just always seems to be some kind of power to use. After talking to Cole's mechanic Rich, he kind of made it obvious as Cole in Supercross really likes a ton of low-end grunt, but for outdoors, he wants a bike that he can ride a lot more like a 250F and just hang it out. Now, even though the power band on Cole's bike is very easy to ride, the rest of the bike definitely comes into what you'd think of him more. Cole's good at putting the bike where he wants to. He's very smooth. He runs a much stiffer setup. I mean, a lot of pros always run something that feels more speed sensitive than your average setting. Cole's bike has a lot more hold up, especially on the front end. Cole rides very far over the front end, so to get it to track in corners, he's definitely up on the tank, and that's what he likes. For me, that was definitely the most interesting to get used to is beyond that initial play, Cole has a very average setting. It's just very progressive, very mellow, but he definitely has a lot of hold up to be able to ride the bike like how he wants to. After riding the bike for a few laps, you can definitely tell that Cole likes a very front-end steering bike. There's not a lot of squat with the rear end of this bike. It does squat, but kind of in unison. If you're able to get the weight forward in the corners, the whole bike settles real nice, and it definitely likes to track all the way through the corner. It doesn't like to steer out quite as early, and with that mellow power band, it just wants to be on rails. It just wants to carry all of its momentum just so you can get out over that next obstacle even easier. With all the weight savings and stuff, that little bit difference the bike has when you snap it side to side in corners or you go to drop it in a rut, just that little bit less effort it takes to do all that is just really surprising. And you realize, yes, all those tie parts are expensive, but in the end, it can be worth it. Of course, it is a bike from probably the manufacturer that has almost the most resources to play with. Some most interesting parts on the bike, obviously, of course, are the titanium tank, titanium foot pegs, the trip clamps, the Works KYB suspension, the PSF1 unit. Beyond that, some little things people might not notice are billet engine mounts. The Yoshimura cans are actually skinnier on their bikes. In the side plate, they have a custom setup where they're able to run the rear end of the bike thinner, which is actually really noticeable between the legs when you get far back on the bike, and it's just a little bit smoother transition. So I'm sure the biggest question on anybody's mind when they think about this bike is, how much difference is it than the production bike? In one way, it is way different. Almost every little part on this bike has been massaged, changed, tweaked, but at the same time, I was generally surprised how much this bike feels like the standard Honda, just tweaked a little bit everywhere. Like I said, the power band isn't that much more aggressive than the production unit. It's just a little bit everywhere, just like what Cole wanted to make the bike easier to ride. They've massaged a couple of things on the chassis. Of course, this bike is all tie. It's extremely light, which is what the Honda already is, but they've just taken it that little bit extra step further. Factory tires, factory suspension, everything is just, it feels a lot like the standard chassis, just a little bit on steroids everywhere.